So here I am up on the roof of my box truck, climbing around on my hands and knees, just using a scrub brush and some simple green and water. And it's already made a pretty significant difference. And you can see how dirty it is, a lot of spotting, things like that. And then if you look at the half of the roof that I did already, it's cleaning up pretty nice. So I'm gonna finish up here and then do the elastic paint. All right, here we are back again. I now have the roof completely cleaned. Looks a lot better than what it did before. There are some marks on the roof. This was a U-Haul truck, so you can see where there was a couple of holes poked. Looks like there's something that goes right up the center there, some kind of a gouge. Somebody ran underneath something, but cleanup is done. Now time to paint. We're starting to install the struts to put the solar panels up on the roof. So we have 2 of them in already, and we're gonna do 2 more. We're gonna do the front and the back first, and then I have to measure the center because I need to put the 1 solar panel off center because I have to have room for the rooftop air conditioning unit. So this is what it looks like so far. We have the 2 installed up in the front. That is 14 gauge Unistrut. I have 5 bolts in each one. And what we're doing is my brother is drilling up from inside to give me the center. And then I'm putting the Unistrut on up here and tightening just that center bolt enough so that it's kind of snug. And then I'm measuring back from the other struts so that I make sure everything is, horizontal to each other. So we're about ready to start putting the 3rd one in. The hole is cut. Right there is 1 hole because he's drilling up from the inside. And there's another one back here, but I have too much stuff in the way, so let's get this thing started. In order to make sure that this thing actually is center, we already measured the Unistrut. It's 95 inches long. So I want to get the center of that, which would be 47.5 inches, and make sure that wherever the hole is in the Unistrut will line up with the hole that's in the roof. So I'm using 3/8 inch bolts. They're 3/4 of an inch long. It just makes them long enough to go in through the support beams on the inside. And then I'm putting on top of that a fender washer to make sure that it fills up the entire channel so it won't slide anywhere. So here I have measured at 47.5 inches, which it's just about exact, but I need to make sure that the hole in the roof lines up with one of the holes in the Unistrut. And then I'm putting these on. So what happens is, I'll see if I can film this while I'm doing it. Let me go 0.5. So I have this combination, and then I just fit that in through the strut. Oh, no, I didn't. I put that in first, and then put the bolt in after that. And then that goes right down through, and then my brother's on the inside, and he'll put a lock washer and a nut there. But again, this is just temporary until I get my measurements and I can drill all the rest of the holes. So to make sure that I have these, that they're gonna line up with the supports on the inside of the roof, I have to measure from that strut on both sides up to this one and make sure that they're even on both ends. And I just did that, and it's coming in at 78 inches and 7/16. And I've got that on both sides. And this is snug enough that it shouldn't move. And now I just have to measure over from the center hole. So then to get my measurements for the holes on each side, I know that the first hole needs to be 20 inches on center from there over. So as close as I could get, I made a mark in there. It's kind of hard to see. Just made a mark with my marker. And then the next one is 39 inches. So I came over here and I marked it as close to 39 inches as I could. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side and then start drilling the holes. All right, we have both of the struts all drilled out, all 5 holes for each strut. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the butyl tape down first on the roof of the truck and then put the strut on top of the butyl tape. So looking here, I have all 5 holes, and I put a mark right by those holes so that when I put the butyl tape over top of those holes, I'll know exactly where that hole is. So then I can put the strut on top, poke one of my screwdrivers down through to make the hole, and then be able to bolt them all in. So now I have the tape down, and that's covering those 5 holes. I just have to pull off that paper backing and then lay the strut right on top. So now I laid that strut right on top of that butyl tape, and I took a screwdriver and just poked right down through the holes to make sure that I know where they are. And now I'm going to feed the bolts through. My brother will tighten them up on the bottom. 5 of these, and this strut will be installed. We got both of these struts installed. As you tighten down on them, you can see that butyl tape just comes right out from underneath, and it also comes up into all of those holes, so we know that we've got nice coverage, and all the way through, all the way to that end, and the one behind me is also in. So that's 4, and those are the only 4 we can put in for now, because we have to measure the center of the truck roof. And then I'll be able to mark off where we're going to put the AC unit, and then get the other strut in for the other solar panel. And now we're back a few days later. My brother's not here, so I'm going to try and get the roof sealed. Been waiting for a day where it's a little cloudy out, so it wasn't so hot up here. According to the manufacturer's instructions, you should be able to put your hand right on the surface and not have to pull it off from the heat. So with it being cloudy for a while, actually the roof is fairly cool. So I'm gonna see if I can get this sealed today. I watched some other YouTubers, and they just kind of poured it on the roof and said, this is the way we do it in van life, so let's give it a try. I'm not really sure what the problem is, but my roller isn't rolling. And it was working fine before I got up here. Maybe it's just because the roof is so slippery, but trying to make it work. I think you're supposed to go one direction first coat and the opposite direction the second coat. But I'm having trouble getting this thing to roll anyway, and now the sun came back out and it's really hot, so I'm just gonna keep going with it. I'm just trying to go out and make sure I get all on the edge. I don't want to go down the wall, but I'm going to try and get cover on all of those rivets that are on the edge there, so that I have some good coverage. Don't have to worry about it leaking in the future. And we'll make sure it's even thicker when I get that second coat on there. It's not looking too bad. Like I said, I wish I could get a better pattern with the roller, but for some reason that roller just won't roll. It's just pushing the stuff around. I don't know if it's just too heavy or that the roof is too slick. I'm not sure. But I still got to do the part where I'm standing, so let me stop this and get down on the ladder. Here's the roof with one coat. I got good coverage with that. I didn't even use half of that can. I think it said it does like 10 square feet with 1 gallon, and that is a 5-gallon bucket. So I think the next time when I put the second coat on here, around these edges, I'm going to use a brush to make sure I get good coverage on this whole row here of all these rivets. I kind of have a decent coat on right now, but I want to get it even better than that. So that's it for today. I'm running out of light. Okay, we're back the next night, and I got the second coat on the roof. Looking pretty good. Looks like I got good coverage everywhere. I know some areas look a little thinner, but it's really just the reflection of the sun. It's kind of late at night, so she's seeing shadows, but I got all these edges. I used a paintbrush to make sure that all those rivets are covered really good, the corners in the back and in the front. And that's a wrap on sealing the roof. Tomorrow my brother will be back to give me a hand putting these final 2 struts in the middle here, and then placing the solar panels. We're back the next day, and we put in the final 2 struts, and all of them are screwed down tight or bolted down tight. And then I went around on the top of every one of the heads of the bolts, and I put Dicor self-leveling caulk on top of each one of those, and that'll keep anything from leaking. The butyl tape's underneath, and it creates a really good seal. And then this, you can see it's Dicor lap sealant self-leveling, and that'll make everything watertight up on the roof here. And that's it for roof prep. Everything's done, ready to go. Next up, solar panels.